All right. I think I'm ready now.
Yeah.
Yes. Could we acknowledge ourselves for even showing up today? Give it to us. Remember, we want to be sincere, but I'm not here to be serious. You know what I'm saying? So I like to start out with a little meditation that I think is exactly what I need to hear. And I have to subject you to what I need to learn. And so that's why I teach. So I can learn it myself. So just close your eyes if you want to and breathe. You don't have to sit in any type of position other than how you want to sit. You don't even have to listen to what I'm saying. The name of this next lesson is I am sustained by the love of God. I am sustained by the love of God. That means I am sustained by the love of my Creator. I am sustained by the love of my Creator. That you are sustained by the love of God, that you are sustained by that which created you. That is the answer to every problem that will confront you today. That's the answer to every problem that will confront you tomorrow. And the answer to every problem that will confront you throughout time is that you are sustained by the love of God. You might want to say that silently to yourself. I am sustained by the love of God. In this world, you believe you are sustained by everything but God. In this world, you believe you are sustained by everything but God. That means your faith is placed in the most trivial and insane symbols. For instance, most people put their faith in pills, their faith in money. Their faith in pills, their faith in money. Most people put their faith in wearing protective clothing. Most people put their faith in who they know, their influence. Many people put their faith in prestige, being liked. A lot of people have faith that everything is going to be all right if everybody liked them. Some people believe they're going to be taken care of if they know the right people. Some people put their faith in knowing the right people, which the Course in Miracles calls an endless list of forms of nothingness. An endless list of forms of nothingness that we endow with magical powers. All these things, pills, money, protective clothing, influence, prestige, being liked, knowing the right people, all these things are replacements for the love of God, for the love of God. Pills, money, protective clothing, influence, prestige, being liked, knowing the right people. All these things are cherished. We cherish all this stuff just to ensure that we will keep on identifying ourselves with just being physical bodies only. Would you please turn the light back on over there for me? If it went out. Yeah, just let the light switch right there. Right there you go, sunshine. Yeah. Will you please remember that putting your faith in all those things, pills, money, protective clothing, influence, prestige, being liked, knowing the right people, these are just songs of praise to your fear. Your fear that you're by yourself, your fear that you're on your own, your fear that you got to figure it all out. Don't put your faith in the worthless. It won't sustain you. Only the love of God will protect you in all circumstances. Only the love of your Creator will protect you in all circumstances. The love from your Creator to you. The love of your Creator for you. The love of your Creator for you. Not your love for your Creator. That you'll be up the creek then. It's not talking about that. It's talking about the love of your Creator for you. It will lift you out of every trial. The love of your Creator for you will raise you high above all the perceived dangers in this world into a climate of perfect peace. Do you want to go into a climate of perfect peace? Do you want to go into a climate of perfect safety? Well, the love of your Creator for you, the love of God for you will transport you into a state of mind that nothing can threaten. Would you like to be in a state of mind that nothing could threaten? Would you like to be in a state of mind that nothing can disturb? Would you like to be in a state of mind where nothing can intrude upon your constant calm? Yes. Don't put your faith in illusions. Don't put your faith in illusions. What does that mean? Don't put your faith in pills. Don't put your faith in money. Don't put your faith in the stock market. Don't put your faith in the government. Don't put your faith into anything outside of you that's going to take care of you. Don't put your faith in having the right clothes. Don't put your faith in having influence, prestige, being liked, knowing the right people. Don't put your faith in that. Put your faith in the love of your Creator for you. Put your faith in the love of your Creator for you. Put your faith in the love of your Creator for you. It will transport you. Don't put your faith in false ideas. False ideas always fail you. Put all your faith in the love of God within you, eternal, changeless, and forever unfailing. Put your faith in the love of God within you, eternal, changeless, and forever unfailing. That is the answer to whatever confronts you. That is the answer to whatever confronts you today. That's what's the answer to whatever confronts you today. Through the love of God within you, you can resolve all seeming difficulties without effort. I say, through the love of God within you, you can resolve all seeming difficulties without effort. Through the love of God within you, you can resolve all seeming difficulties without effort and ensure confidence. Yeah. Through the love of God within you, you can resolve all seeming difficulties without effort. I said without effort. Through the love of God within you, you can resolve all seeming difficulties without effort and ensure confidence. So you got to tell yourself this often today, brothers and sisters. Tell yourself this often today, brothers and sisters, that through the love of God within you, you can resolve all seeming difficulties without effort and ensure confidence. It says, tell yourself this often today. Through the love of God within you, you can resolve all seeming difficulties without effort. I said without effort and ensure confidence. Tell yourself this often today. It's a declaration of release. It's a declaration of release from your belief in idols and false ideas. It's your acknowledgement of the truth about yourself. The truth about yourself is this. Through the love of your Creator within you, you can resolve any difficulty that you think you're going through right now. You can resolve any difficulty that you think you have right now. You can resolve any difficulty that you think you have right now through the love of your Creator within you. It's time for you to acknowledge the truth about yourself. It's about time you start telling the truth about yourself. And the truth is, through the love of God within you, you can resolve all seeming difficulties without effort and ensure confidence. So I'm going to say one more time, let this idea, I am sustained by the love of God, sink deep into your consciousness. Repeat, I am sustained by the love of God. Think about it. I am sustained by the love of God. Let related thoughts come to help you recognize that it's true. Allow peace to flow over you like a blanket of protection. Allow peace to flow over you like a blanket of protection. Allow peace to flow over you. Allow peace to flow over you like a blanket of protection. 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 Allow peace to flow over you. Let no idle and foolish thoughts enter to disturb your innocent mind. Let no idle and foolish thoughts enter to disturb your innocent mind. Don't let any idle and foolish thoughts enter to disturb your innocent peace of mind. Not letting any idle thoughts disturb your innocent peace of mind. The Course in Miracles says that's what the kingdom of heaven is. When there's nothing to disturb your innocent mind, that's what the kingdom of heaven is. That's the resting place where your Creator placed you forever. I am sustained by the love of God. 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 I am sustained by the love. And take a breath and let it in. I am sustained by the love of God. I am sustained by the love of God. I am sustained by the love of God. am sustained by the love of God. I 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 am sustained by the who wanna say it with me. I am sustained by the love of God. 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 Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to believe anything I say, accept anything I say, welcome anything I say. Some of the stuff I say is going to be hard to believe. Some of it's going to be startling. Nobody's asking you to come here to be a judge today. If you use the ideas, you'll see that the ideas are true. And we're going to continue with the characteristics of somebody who gives a damn about you. Okay? And that's going to be called the characteristics of God's teachers, loves teachers. And in the Course in Miracles Teacher's Manual, it's on page, we're going to be on page 14. And page 14, we're going to be on the section called defenselessness. Defenselessness. You know what the Course in Miracles says the defense is? The Course in Miracles says a defense is a plan you make. That any plan you make is a defense. That you are making plans because you don't believe that you'll be taken care of by the Creator. So everybody's busy making plans because they really think that God's not going to take care of them. The creative force within you is not going to take care of you. When I first read that in the Course, I felt some resistance to that because I'm totally into my plans. So I knew it must have been telling the truth because of the way I responded. That my defensiveness let me know it was exactly right. I do think I have to take care of myself, and if I don't come up with a plan for myself, then I won't be taken care of. And the Course in Miracles says that's your proof you don't believe in a higher power to guide you. Because if you really believed that there was a higher power to guide you and you were in contact with that higher power, you would simply ask for what the plan is, and then you would carry out a plan, but it wouldn't be a plan that you're making up out of fear because you don't think you're going to be taken care of. And so you don't have to believe that, accept that, welcome that. Okay? And you can have some resistance to that. Okay? It's all right. It doesn't matter. Because the way we feel about something does not necessarily affect the truth or the falsity of it. It can be true and I don't like it. Okay, so our liking it don't necessarily have to mean, it's a lot of things, but the truth is, that's the truth. If I was really want to be honest, that statement is exactly right. I pretend that I believe that there's something taking care of me, but the truth is I live my life most of the time as if I'm taking care of myself and I've got to figure out how to do it. And so the Course says that's defense. Another defense would be you're thinking that there's something unknown out there that you have to defend yourself against because you don't want it to hurt you. The Course said that's also another belief that you're on your own and you're alone. And that the first step to getting to the point that you can accept guidance and allow yourself to be supported by the universe is you have to get in a relationship with the universe where you don't feel like you're on your own dealing with everything. So that's why the first step of enlightenment is the toughest part, because that's the stage that at some level we've got to surrender to the idea that there's something greater than us that we've got to get in tune with. And sometimes those of us who see ourselves as personal growth people and new thought people and new age people, then it's very difficult to get sometimes into that idea of a higher power because it usually taps into the very religious beliefs and upbringings that we got into new thought to get away from. That a part of us grew up in fearful religious, spiritual upbringings, and so the whole idea of God and a higher power immediately brings up resistance, and we don't realize that is a lot of times is just coming from what we were taught, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily true. So the Course says that if somebody is really a demonstrator of love, that if somebody is really a demonstrator of God, which is love, the first sentence says God's teachers have learned how to be simple. So somebody who really wants to be happy is somebody who's learned how to be simple, not somebody who keeps trying to make their life as complicated as possible. And how do you become a simple person? The Course says they have no dreams that need defense against the truth. In other words, I'm not coming up with anything that I want to believe in more than what the truth is trying to teach me. That I'm not defending the idea that I'm powerful, that I'm creative, that I create my reality, that I'm not a victim, that I am responsible, that I am spiritual, that I am free, that I am creative, that I am okay, that I am loved, that I am innocent. I'm no longer going to defend against those ideas. I'm not going to have some dream of myself that's truer than the truth about me, which is that I'm loving and lovable. The Course in Miracles says a dream is just a false idea you have about yourself or something that isn't true. Or a dream is an idea that you make up that you need something that you really don't need in order to really be happy. So what the average person does is they come up with a fantasy of some imagined need that they think they have, and then they try to meet that imagined need through everybody around them, even though that need has nothing to do with their life, their survival, or their peace. Like in other words, I will never ever starve to death because I don't have a flat screen TV. That's just an imagined need. You see what I'm talking about? It's like most of the stuff we make up that we need have nothing, absolutely nothing to do with our survival whatsoever. So the Course is saying, and then we make up the need, and now I feel like I'm not enough unless I have a flat screen TV. So now I'm judging myself by whether or not I have a flat screen, which is a need I really didn't have in the first place. But now it's got to be, my screen's got to be bigger than your screen. I pride myself in how big my screen is.
I'm sure you do.
But it's really just an imagined need, isn't it?
Yes.
It really is. I mean, it's so obvious it's an imagined need. So the Course says you shouldn't have any dreams that you want to defend against the truth. That all you really need is your connection to your source. All you really need is love. What you really are is love. We come up with every single answer for everything that's going on in the world other than us loving each other and caring about each other and extending to each other and treating each other from some place of respect and recognition and joy. We come up with every solution. Congress gets together, they'll never go. The Congress went into recess for the last 3 days and they came to the decision that they needed to love each other. And we need to extend more peace into the world. Now, those who believe that attack is the way out hate anyone that says anything about peace. Or else there wouldn't have been so much killing going on in the 60s doing all the different peace demonstrations. You know, people who are afraid believe that attack is the only way to be safe. And so when they hear anybody says anything that's not about attack, they get suspicious because they believe that attack is the way to protect themselves. And the truth teaches you that what protects you is your consciousness and your connection to truth. And it's really your vibration and your consciousness that's drawing everything that's happening to you anyway. So if you could change the way you perceive and change the energies that's coming through you, you'd have a new reality anyway. Police can't be everywhere, but your energy can be everywhere you are. So love protects you more than anybody could protect you. That's the truth. Now, you don't have to believe this, you don't have to accept this, you don't have to welcome this. That's important. Then the next line says, you don't try to make yourself. So the Course in Miracles says, I know you're trying to make yourself up and you're coming up with an image of yourself that you think you are, but I don't know how to break this to you, but you had a self before your image of yourself. Because who is it you're trying to make the image of yourself for? That must be the self. So your image of yourself isn't yourself. The idea you make yourself up to be is not yourself. I could say that my idea of myself is that I am the President of the United States. You know that's not true. My idea of myself is not necessarily myself. So the Course says we are constantly making up ideas of who we think we are, and then we're judging ourselves according to that idea. So it says, so if you really want to love yourself, you stop making up ideas of who you are, and you try to get back to the truth of who you are. And the truth of who you are is that you're loving and you're lovable.
Yes.
And you're powerful, and you're free, and you're innocent. That's the truth about you. So everything else is made up. So most of the time, people are trying to learn how to love a self they made up. And like I said last week, how do you know it's not your real self that you're trying to love? You know it's not your real self that you're trying to love because it's something you think you need to learn how to love. Your real self is so loving and lovable, loving it would be the easiest thing in the world to do. So whatever that self is you're trying so hard to love, that ain't you. The one that you don't like, that you think isn't smart enough, spiritual enough, caring enough, innocent enough. The one that you're trying to, of course, that's your fantasy self. That's your made up self. That if you knew who you really were, you would just love it. There wouldn't be no effort involved.
Yes.
Yes.
Is the fantasy self the ego?
Yeah, the fantasy self is the ego. It's the easiest way to look at the ego is the image that you're making up about yourself, and it's always rooted in some form of fear. So the Course defines everything into fear and love. So your ego would be the part of you that's afraid, and your real self would be the part of you that is only love. If you believe that you're the fearful self, then the fearful self becomes the lens through which you see your world. And so your world reflects back to you the fear of your fearful self. So this is your ego. Like this right here, let's just say this is your ego. So when I put this on, then it's gonna color everything I see. If this was green, then everything in the room will look green to me because I got a green ego. All right, and then if this was pink, which represented love, and I look at the world through these eyes, I would see everything through pink or through love. So we have to understand, your ego is nothing but the lens through which you're looking at your experience through. And it's not necessarily the truth just because you see it that way. And then the Course in Miracles says, well, how can I tell when it's not the truth? You want to kill yourself. You don't like nothing that's going on. You're mad, you're confused, you're depressed, you're angry, you don't trust anybody. It's pretty obvious. I love it. I woke up this morning and I wanted to kill everybody. Now, was that the voice of God or was that my ego? It's like, I don't think the voice of love is going to tell you to go out there and like bust a cap on everybody's ass walking around. You know what I'm saying? You know. So it's really easy to tell whether you're coming from your right mind or your wrong mind by the way you feel. If you would just start with the way you feel and work back, you would know that you were not perceiving things correctly. But most people don't do that. Most people do just the opposite. When they're most angry, most confused, and most upset, that's when they think they're the most right.
Yeah.
It's not like I'd be angry about nothing.
Yeah, sure.
So if I'm mad, I must be right. And then the Course in Miracles is teaching you now you're mad, which means you're not seeing nothing correctly. Because if you were seeing it correctly, you'd have peace. And if you have peace, you can deal with any situation better with peace than you can deal with any situation in conflict. I don't care if it's the worst situation that's happening in your life right now. You can't tell me that you couldn't handle it better if you were in a peaceful mental space than if you are in a fearful mental space. Like I had a person ask me a couple of weeks ago in one of my classes, well, don't you need fear? Because if you didn't feel fear, you would, how would you know not to do something? You might hurt yourself if you weren't afraid of it. And I was telling her that awareness has nothing to do with fear. I can be aware that I don't need to step in front of a car without being afraid every time I cross the street. I'd never cross the street. Right. Could you imagine how screwed up we'd be all day? Every time we got ready to cross the street, can I get counseling? I got to cross the street. I'm totally terrified. You know what I'm saying? So you can be aware not to step out in front of a car without being afraid. So fear is not a necessary factor in able to know what's the best thing to do. As a matter of fact, it's what makes you make the loudest decisions because your perception is distorted when you're afraid. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes. Yeah. I mean, but it's hard for a person who's learned how to manipulate and maneuver through a life full of fear to do it any other way. That's why some people want to keep the fear, because they've learned how to act from a fearful place. They know what you do from a fearful place. We know how to be suspicious. We know how to plan. We know how to do all that, but we don't know how to trust and have faith a lot of times. So it seems like it's a fairy tale what I'm saying to you right now. But you know what I'm so glad about? Each and every person in this room will reach their limit sooner or later. So I don't have to be there to wait till you do it. I know you will. So it doesn't really matter to me whether you reach your limit today or not. You will. It's built into this system. Nobody's going to suffer forever. I don't care how much they hate themselves. Okay, I don't care how much you think you don't deserve it. Love is going to get to you. Peace is going to get to you. Something cool is going to get to you. I'm sorry. You can try really hard, but you're going to be loved. Okay, you can be putting yourself down today about something. That's okay. But on the other side of that, you're still being loved. When you walk out of this room, the son is going to say, "Oh my God, that's a bastard. Don't put no ray on him. That dude right there ain't no good. No sunlight for him." Whatever's up there is not doing that. It's shining on everybody all the time, no matter what. So that's what love does. And so anybody that's loving you and telling you that if you don't do certain things, they're not going to love you anymore, that's not love. Or we all up the creek. That's right. If the creative force behind all things love like we do, we up the creek, y'all. Our love is so ridiculously conditional. It's so pitiful. And then we make people work for it. We have to earn them. It's like, honey, you got to work so hard to earn my dysfunctional love. I don't know how to love anybody, but your butt's going to work hard. And that's what we do, people. We make them work. It's like giving somebody this beautifully wrapped empty box. It just looks so pretty. So I don't care how beautifully a box is wrapped that's empty. You don't fool the person for long that they didn't give you anything. So what we focus on is the box wrapping. Everybody's job to make sure their wrapping looks good, right? We put on good clothes so our wrapping looks good, because then maybe somebody will be attracted to our box. But a conscious being is going, what's in the box? I see your body, but what's going on in your mind? What's going on in your heart? And I don't mind waiting a while before we get to it, but we can play with the wrapping for a while. There's a big rush to get to the box. We'll get to it sooner or later. You know what I'm saying? But y'all all know it. You always end up getting to unwrapping the box. That's right. We all get to the unwrapping the box. And so what the course is saying, when you unwrap that box, there's one or two things in it: love or fear. Somebody that wants to join, or somebody that wants to separate. Somebody that's going to help you feel innocent, or somebody that's going to help you feel guilty. Somebody that's going to help you feel safe, or somebody who's going to help you feel threatened. Somebody you're going to feel connected with, or somebody you're going to feel separate from. It's like there's not but two things in the box. All the time, there's not but two things in the box, which is great. Yes. So then the course says, and what does, it says our joy, that a really joyful demonstrator of love, says that joy comes from their understanding who created them. So if I'm perceiving correctly, I will be so friggin' happy that I know that what created me was a love that loves me unconditionally and doesn't attack me. He says that actually we'd be happy if we actually knew where we came from. That if we really knew where we came from, we wouldn't be sad. If we really knew where we came from, we wouldn't be happy. So if I'm unhappy, I've just forgotten what my source is temporarily. I've forgotten that I'm created by love temporarily. So what do I call that? Today I'm feeling depressed. What does that mean? Well, today I forgot that I was created by love. Today I forgot that I'm innocent. Today I forgot that I'm strong. Today I forgot that I'm not alone. Today I forgot that I have guidance. What does that mean? Today I think I'm on my own. Today I think I'm being deprived of something that I want and I can't have. Now I feel depressed. Today I'm a victim. Today I think I'm alone. Instead of saying I'm afraid now, I tell myself, oh, I'm having the feeling of I am alone and I am on my own. How do you feel today? Well, this morning when I woke up, I was having the feeling of I am on my own and I am alone. I used to call that fear. That's because that's what fear is. It's I'm alone, I'm on my own, I'm not safe, I'm unprotected, I'm out here on my own. So whenever you feel fear, it's an automatic clue that you've forgotten that you're not alone. If a person was to remember that they were feeling alone more than trying to figure out what the fear was about, the fear would go away faster. See, first you decide to be afraid, then you see something to be afraid of.
Yeah, sure.
That's the way it works. It's not you see something to be afraid of and then you feel afraid. No, for some reason today you chose to not feel peaceful and then you see something that allows you to feel that way. Everything that happens in your world is just there to evoke a feeling you already decided to feel. Just like some of you all know in relationships, the person can walk in the door and you can see they're aching for a fight. Right? They come in the door in a bad mood, and then they look around in the house and say, hey, you didn't clean that up. See, they had already decided to be upset. And so then they had to have justification for their upset. We decide how we're going to feel, and then we create the mental circumstances and emotional circumstances to validate that feeling. It's just the opposite of the way we do it. And it's all, the Course in Miracles says it's all rooted in guilt. Somehow or another you're feeling guilty. Somehow or another you're feeling alone. Somehow or another you think you've sinned. Somehow or another you think you've done something that can't be corrected. So what's the purpose of a class like this? To remind you that you're wrong.
And, well, I was going to say, and it works the other way too. So we decided this morning we wanted to feel really good.
Absolutely.
So we showed up here.
Yeah, so you showed up here. Yeah, you decided you want to feel better first.
Right.
Then you show up here. And then some people decided they wanted to feel worse today, so they showed up here. That's the person that's here that wish the hell they wasn't.
Earl, in my experience, I've seen also that, like, I decide that I'm gonna wake up and feel bad, but then I change my mind.
Right, that's cool too. And then the same thing applies. When you change your mind, then you see justification for feeling okay about changing your mind. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So then it goes on to say, no one can become an advanced teacher of love, which is an advanced teacher of God, unless they fully understand that defenses are but foolish guardians of mad illusions. And the more grotesque the dream, the fiercer and more powerful its defenses seem to be. Yet, when the teacher of love finally agrees to look past their defenses, past their fears, past their false ideas, past their guilt, the Course says at that point, when you're willing to do that, we find nothing was really there. It's like when you really are willing to look past the things that's upsetting you, you'll see that there was nothing really there to upset you. It was just what you were telling yourself about what you thought was there that was upsetting you. You know, there's some people that don't fear death. If they were faced with death, they would go, all right, I'm curious to see what's going to happen next. What's going to come after this? Oh, I'm not afraid of death. And of course, somebody who knew they were eternal wouldn't be afraid of death. Anybody that actually knew they were eternal and spiritual wouldn't be afraid of death. How would we live today if we weren't afraid of death? What would you do today if you couldn't die? Have you ever thought about that? If you knew you could do nothing today, nothing you did could kill you, what would you do today if nothing you could do today would kill you? I bet you anything it wouldn't be a dull day. Number one, the end of dullness of your days would be gone. Right? Why is it that you don't do a lot of things you think you love to do? Because you're afraid of dying. That's why I don't get on motorcycles too much. Okay. How I know I don't need to ride one? Because I think I'd probably kill myself on it. Now, other people don't. It's my own belief system that would act that out for me. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, I'm not saying it's true for everybody that ride motorcycles, but I've learned over the years to pay attention to my own feelings because my reality is going to come from my feelings. Yes. So for me to ignore how I feel is the stupidest thing I could possibly do when everything that I'm going to experience is going to come out of my thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and emotions. So if I'm sitting there pretending I'm not afraid about something, but I really am, that's stupid. Because the reality is going to come from what I really feel and what I really believe and not what I'm telling myself I really feel and what I really believe. Everybody with me on that? Yeah. So it's much better in every circumstance to be completely honest about your feelings, even if they don't seem positive. Don't let positive thinking get your butt in a sling. I'm telling you. You know, there's nothing wrong with being optimistic, but don't lie to yourself, is what I'm saying. Don't lie to yourself. You might tell me you feel fine today, but if you don't feel fine today, don't tell yourself you do. Admit to yourself, I feel really sad today, and I want another way to look at it. I feel really sad today. Is there another way for me to look at it? I'm feeling afraid today. Could I look at this another way? But don't lie to yourself and say, oh, I feel great. And the truth is, you don't feel great. Now, you don't want to tell somebody you don't feel great who would make you not feeling great real. That's right. So you also have to be discerning about who you tell how you feel. Telling somebody that you feel sad who knows that you are a loving and lovable being and that you are strong enough to go beyond anything you are afraid about is okay. But to tell that to somebody who believes you are what you say is just reinforcing the fearful perspective. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like somebody who doesn't know I'm an unlimited spiritual being and a child of God, and I tell them I feel like crap, they're gonna think that's real for me. They're not gonna say, well, I see you beyond that, and I know that even though you're feeling that, you are this powerful, powerful being. They just see you, and then every time you say, are you still okay? Are you all right? You've forgotten about it, feel better 3 hours later. They carrying it around for 2 weeks. You know, last time I saw Earl, he was really suffering. And Earl could be just like partying like a big dog by now. So be aware of who you share with. And the easiest way to know who to share with is just to listen to them. That's a radical concept. Just listen to them. You can tell by their perception of their life whether they're somebody you really want to have their focus on your life. So those people you say, how you doing today? Great. It couldn't get better.
Yeah.
It's just fine. Everything's wonderful. Just great. You know, somebody you know who knows that you're a powerful being, but you're just going through the process of learning and healing. You can say, you know, the truth is today I'm having the feeling of alone and I'm on my own, which you would call fear. What happens when you say to yourself, you feel alone and on your own? Isn't it an instant reminder that you're not? Just try it. As soon as you say, I feel alone and on my own, it will make you be aware of thinking that maybe you're not alone and on your own. But if you say, I just feel afraid, even if you're going to say, I'm afraid, feel afraid, say it like this. I feel afraid of loss. Because all fear is always some form of fear of loss, that I'm going to lose something. So how do you feel today? Well, today I feel like I'm losing. Well, how do I know that loss is not real? Well, the Course in Miracles say the way you can tell that loss is not real is because what's lost to one person isn't lost to another person. That's how you know it's just a perception, because everybody has a different idea of what loss is. The person who knows they're eternal being, the idea of losing their body is not a loss to them. So they wouldn't see it as a loss. A person who believes they are their body, that's the scariest thing that could ever happen, is to believe that they would lose their body. So is loss real, or is it just the way you're looking at it is what's creating the idea of loss? I'm just throwing a question out. It doesn't mean that we have to agree, but just think about that for a minute. Everybody in this room is feeling different, but the truth is the number two feelings happening in the room. What two feelings are happening in the room? Love or fear. That's the only thing that's going on. When I get ready to go do a talk, and the first time I went over to London to speak for the first time, I had lots of feelings of I'm alone and I'm on my own. They tried to come up in the form of fear. First of all, I don't tend to speak like most speakers speak, which means I don't try to speak like most speakers speak. I'm just myself.
Yes, I will.
Okay, so, and then the next time I like to jam, I like to play, I like to have fun, like to play music, like to do anything I feel like doing. So I had always heard that people in England were much more reserved and, and conservative and then there's not a whole hell of a lot of black Course in Miracles teachers, and it was a Course in Miracles conference, and whether y'all realize it or not, I do realize that I'm black. Yes. And so that brings up the things around any racial fears that I might have, any feelings of being alone racially. Okay, and I know sometimes it's hard for people to relate to that when they're used to being in the majority, but it becomes very apparent to you when you're in the minority. Yes. It used to be fun back in Memphis when I would take my friends in white bodies to my parties with people with black bodies. I was saying they would get real white. They weren't really white, but they said, I don't have to notice of being racist. But when they got there and they were the only ones, then about an hour into the party, they was huddled over in the corner. And they didn't even realize they had all ended up in the little corner together. You know what I'm saying? We don't realize that a lot of things until we see, like the Course says, I'm going to teach you through contrast and differences. I'm going to let you see the difference, and then you're going to learn how you feel about things. And I love how this dream is so cool, because whatever you're in denial about, you get a chance to see it. That's what this whole thing is about. Whatever you're pretending about yourself that isn't true, that is true about you, then you're going to get a chance to see it, because your refusal to look at it is a request for it to show up in your physical reality so that you can see it. So if you would just go ahead and admit you had some fears, and admit you had some jealousies, and admit you had some angers, and admit you had any of that kind of stuff, it wouldn't show up in your life so much. But when you're pretending that you don't feel those things show up in your experience so that you can see the subconscious thoughts you have in your mind. So your physical world is a reflection of your subconscious mind. Your physical world is a reflection of your unconscious mind. I'll say that again. Your physical world is a reflection of your subconscious thoughts. So the people around you, the situations around you, how you see your world, that is how you think, but you don't know it. Deep. That's deep, man. That's deep. So you don't have to be unaware of anything that's going on in your mind. If you want to know what you secretly think, look at your world. Look at your relationships and look at the people that you hang out with. That's your mind. So you can't say, I'm all spiritual and I'm surrounded by all these people that don't have any spirituality whatsoever. That's your subconscious mind. That's your mind that doesn't have any spirituality whatsoever, other than the idea that you're telling yourself about how spiritual you are. So what do? You start saying those people represent aspects of my own mind. That's all you do. You don't try to change them. You don't try to teach them. You don't force them to a class. What you do is you just own that they represent some aspect of your own mind. That's it. That's all you have to do. And then don't let that aspect of your mind make any of your decisions. There might be a part of me that doesn't love me, but I'm not going to let that part of me make my decisions, though. I'm going to admit that it's there, but I'm not going to let it tell me what to do. How can you tell when it's coming from somewhere real inside of you? When it's coming from somewhere real inside of you, you feel lighter, you feel more peaceful, you feel more centered. And I emphasize, feel lighter, feel more centered, feel more centered, not think more centered. Because your feelings are more honest representations of what's going on in your mind than the thoughts that you tell yourself. Your feelings don't necessarily represent what's true, but your feelings always represent what's true for you.
Wow.
They're always your way of knowing what you believe, and then what you perceive and experience is going to come from what you believe.
Wow.
So you can predict your future by how you feel from moment to moment. If I'm feeling afraid all the time, then I could look at it as if I'm either calling for some form of punishment to myself because I'm feeling guilty, or I could look at it as if I'm calling for help and calling for love and calling for God and calling for the truth to come into my life. You got two ways you can look at what you call negative feelings. You can turn them into prayers that bring to you what you really want, or you can use them as an excuse to punish yourself as part of your plan to be okay. Because some people think by punishing themselves, that's how they're going to be better people. And so people who believe that are always looking for drama. Okay, and those who are beginning to believe that they deserve love, they would see their own fear as their own personal cry for help. They would see their own upset as their own personal cry for help. They would see their own anger as their own personal cry for help. That's okay. I can always tell when things are really great. When it's a really intense truth coming through, I get bands and I get knocks on doors and everything else, and it's great. I got a soundtrack to my class. You know what I'm saying? I can look at it that way. See, that's how you know this is a movie. Think of, you don't even see the band, but you hear the music. Suppose there is no band. Suppose that's just our soundtrack. Yeah, suppose no music at all. It's just all in our head, which is the truth. That's where, actually, your body is in your mind. Your mind isn't in your body. That's deep. Your body isn't. How do you know your body is in your mind? Because you have an idea of it. So your body is in your mind. Tell me about your body, and you're telling me about your idea of your body in your mind. So your body and everything about your body is going on in your mind. So all you have to do is change your mind about your body. And when you change your mind about your body, then your body will change. And it will look like there are things that come to you in the physical world that supports that change. So you might do Reiki, you might get a massage, you might start jogging, or you might start eating differently. All those things are just symbolic things that you're doing to show that you changed your mind about your body. Does that make sense to everybody? So the things we do in the physical world are just nothing but symbolic of the fact that we've changed our mind about something. And so now we are doing something to show the universe that we're willing to have that happen. So all of your plans don't do anything. They're just symbolic of your willingness to have whatever it is you think that plan is going to give you. And when you're really smart, you're going to say to yourself, I want the plan, I want my plan. I want the plan that which loves me has for me, instead of wanting the plan that which is afraid has for me. The plan that feels guilty has for me. Because we know what that plan is. That plan is always some form of punishment, some form of pain, some form of lack, some form of loneliness. So if you feel in any of those things, you're completely innocent. You just need to ask that those things be used to bring you just the opposite of that feeling. I'm feeling depressed, so my depression is a request for peace. I'm feeling sick right now, so that's my request for health. I'm feeling lonely right now, that's my request for companionship. So what are you feeling today, Earl? I'm feeling a deep request for companionship, where I would have said at one time, I feel lonely. See, the same feeling, just reinterpreting it. And reinterpreting it will create a different reality for you. It's simple, but it's different. It's so different that people forget about it, and they won't do it. All right? But I feel like you are doing it. If you weren't already doing it, you wouldn't be here in the first place. Your coming here is symbolic of your willingness to have something different. Because the truth is, it says, when the teacher of love finally agrees to look past the defenses, past the plans, the teacher of love finds that nothing was there. Slowly, I like that, slowly at first you let yourself be undeceived slowly. It's slowly that I come to realize the truth. So if you're moving really slow on your path, you're right on time. If you're getting this really slow, you're right on time. Okay? Then it says you learn faster as your trust increases. So the more you trust, no, don't trust me, trust the truth. You grow faster because your trust in the truth increases. Don't trust in my ego. Hell, I don't know what I'm going to be doing from 1 hour to the next. Don't make it about trusting in me. I'm not asking anybody to trust in me. I'm saying trust in the truth in me. Trust in the truth in you. Trust in the truth. Trust in the truth. Don't trust in people. Trust in the truth in people. Trust in the truth, not the person's personality. Okay? Everybody with me on that?
Yes.
Okay? Then it goes on to say, it is not danger that comes when your defenses are laid down. Safety comes when your defenses come laid down. It's peace that comes when your defenses are laid down. Joy comes when your defenses are laid down. And it's God that comes when your defenses are laid down. Let's say what defenses are again. They're plans we make on our own to take care of ourselves without consulting our higher self. They're the plans we make to be happy without checking in with our own divine self. They're the plans you make and then ask Spirit what to do. They're the plans where you go, this is what it is I decided to do, and God, how will you help me do this? That's your plan. The plan of Spirit would be the plan that had to do with you asking Spirit. So God's plan is for us to ask God. The plan of Spirit is for you to start asking the divine within you what to do. That's the plan, is to go within, not without. Our plan is, the Course says, what is it outside of myself that needs to change and be different in order for me to be happy? Our plan is, what is it outside of myself that needs to change or be different in order for me to be happy? What place do I need to go? What people do I need to talk to? What I need to buy? What I need to have? The Course says you can always tell your plan by two characteristics. Your plan is always something outside of yourself, and somebody's got to change in order for you to be happy, number one, you know. And if it's your plan, it's always something you can't have right now.
Sure.
If it's God's plan, it's always something you can have right now, and you just ask for it. Ask where to go, ask what to do, ask who to talk to, ask your higher self, what should I say to who I talk to? He said, that's Spirit's plan. It's for you to act like Spirit and for me to act like Spirit even exists. That's the plan. Now, does it take time? Yes. I have to learn how to do that. Yes. I have to get conscious. I have to become conscious of going, this is what I think I'd like to experience right now, but if I make no decisions by myself, maybe I can have it. If I ask, maybe I can have it. But remember one thing, you all. Everything you say you want, you're asking for that thing because of an experience you think that thing is going to give you. I don't care what you ask for, you're really asking for an experience. You're never asking for a thing. A person who says, I want a house, they're really asking for the experience that they think having a house will give them. Be that the experience of security or the experience of having something they feel is theirs. They're actually asking for, when somebody say, I want a person, they're really asking for an experience that they think they're going to have, which is, in most cases, I think I'm going to have some kind of loving, joyful experience. That's why I want to be with you, right? So the Course in Miracles says something radical. It says, why don't you just ask for the joyful experience?
Yeah.
Cut out the middleman. So why don't you want money because you think it's going to give you some sense of abundance. Spirit would say, why don't you just ask for the correct perception of abundance? Because when you say you want it through money, then you're going to come up with all the ways that you think you can make money, which might not be the way that you can receive money quickly at all, because it's your plan, where you could have just asked for abundance and then watched abundance create the way for it to get to you. Ask for abundance to show you how to get to it, instead of you trying to make up your way to get to abundance. Ask the love of your life to show you how to get to it or him or her, rather than you trying to figure out how you're going to get it. Ask the perfect career to show you how to get to it, because everything is consciousness. Everything is alive. Ask for it how to get to you, rather than you trying to make up how to get to it. And just try. And then put everything in the form of a question. Always put, the Course has questions all the way through, it says, ask and you shall receive, ask and you shall receive. So the Course is saying, I want you to ask me, ask your divine self. Get in the habit of believing that you didn't create yourself. Just play with it for a minute. And play with the idea that what created you is not condemning you, not judging you, not going to punish you, not going to hurt you, and is not at any level saying you're guilty and sinful. Play with that idea too. Because those ideas are made up by people who already feel guilty and sinful. Yeah. And they're calling for love. And they're innocent also. I gotta stop here. Would you acknowledge yourself for hearing this much with me right now? Give it up. Even if you don't believe it, don't feel like it. Acknowledge me anyway. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. That was so good. All right, I'm going to do the love offering right now. Thank you for sharing with me. I do the Course in Miracles on a love offering basis so that people can come regardless of their financial situation. And so I appreciate your generosity a lot. A lot.
We appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Is that they got to the point they realized there wasn't no such thing as time. So why you need a calendar? Which I think I like that a lot better than the cataclysmic end of everything. Just once you realize your eternal nature, what you need is a calendar for, really. Right. But people who always want the end of the world, they're usually people who are unhappy.
Right.
So it makes perfect sense to me that people who are miserable want the world to end.
Right.
But somebody's having a good time, that's not what they're focused on. No. But if your life is miserable, then you need to always have the idea of something ending. But those of us who don't believe that and who want to experience and give and receive love, we won't go through that. That's what's so interesting about all of it. If your consciousness isn't there, you won't go through that. And those whose consciousness is there and they need to have that experience, they will go through that. Mm-hmm. So don't buy into all that other stuff out there about the economy or anything else. Okay. It can be the poorest economy in the world, and you can still have the abundance that you need for everything you need, because it's going to be yours by right of consciousness. A conscious being knows that the laws of man have nothing to do with anything that happens to them ultimately. A being that's asleep thinks everything is being controlled by everything outside of it. That's okay. They're innocent. You're innocent. We've all done it. And so that's a part of us that's still doing it. So we just need to remember the truth for all parts of ourselves. So your only responsibility, according to the Course in Miracles, is to accept the truth for yourself. Not your cousin, not your brother. You don't have to fix anybody. You don't have to convince anybody. As a matter of fact, it's easier to stay on your own spiritual path if you don't tell anybody about it, except someone who can support it or be like-minded in it. That silence is where power is located the more you wake up. When you're around people who think completely different from you, just wish them peace. Yes. And when they say something to you, go, that's an interesting point of view. Yeah. I hadn't thought about looking at it that way. Thank you for that way of looking at it. Yeah. That's all you got to say. You don't have to get into, I think something's different and blah, 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 blah. Then you're defending. If you really believe that what you feel is true, then there's no need for you to defend it. Yeah. That's how you can tell when somebody believes what they're talking about. It's how much they're trying to convince you. So the more they're trying to convince you of something, the more you know they're trying to convince themselves of it, and that they don't really believe what they're talking about. Because the more I accept the truth, the less I feel any need to convince anybody else about it. That's what I've noticed. Yeah. The minute I'm convinced I'm Earl Purdy. I don't walk around saying, I am Earl Purdy. I'm Earl Purdy. Well, you need to see me as Earl Purdy too. You know, it's like, no, that's who I am. So I'm cool with that. And if somebody else thinks I'm not Earl Purdy, I'll go, well, I'm Earl Purdy. You know, it's like, you don't defend if you know it's true. That's how you can tell when somebody doesn't know something is true. They're busy either analyzing it or they're trying to convince everybody else that they need to do it. All right? So I'm going to complete now. Give me 2 minutes, and then we're going to go out into the lab. Yeah. All right? Because you're secret agents of love. Didn't you know that? Everywhere you go today, you're going to be represent the love that they need to see. You know? That's you. Yeah. I love spiritual music. Truth is safety. Truth is safety. Truth is peace. Truth is peace. Truth is joy. Truth is joy. Peace. Safety, peace, joy, God. 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 I ask for safety, peace, joy, and God. Now put it in the form of a question. Remember to put everything in the form of a question, as much as you possibly can. What would it take for me to experience this? Beyond my wildest imagination, beyond my wildest imagination, through the Holy Spirit, through the loving Spirit. What would it take? Are you sustained by the love of God, whether you know it or not? Yes. Would you like to know you're sustained by the universe, whether you know it or not? Yes. Would you be willing to let go of your understanding as having to be a powerful contribution to anything in order for your good to happen? Yeah. That's the slow way, thinking you got to understand it before it can happen. Let go of the slow way. That's you thinking you have to understand love before love can happen for you. Don't think you have to understand freedom for freedom to happen to you. Don't tell yourself you got to understand it or it's not true. That's the slow way. I'd never fly a jet to Europe if I wouldn't get on it until I understood all the laws of aerodynamics. Your understanding does not make it happen. It's your allowing it. Work on, I'm willing to allow it. I'm willing to allow it. I'm willing to allow it. Anybody willing to claim that? I'm willing to allow it. 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 I am willing to allow it. Let's acknowledge us, Holy Spirit. Thank you for helping me remember. Thank you for helping me remember. I teach what I need to learn, by the way. I have none of the qualities I'm talking about.